Hey guys, welcome to another quick, well, I wanted to say tutorial, but it's more like a walkthrough. You saw the video at the start, right? A little bit of electricity going around some text. I thought myself it was a pretty cool text, or pretty cool effect, but then again, I'm a bit biased. But yeah, some of you indicated that you would like to see or would like to have a copy of the project file, which is available as of now on my website, www.ablackbirdcalledsue.com. I'm not going to recreate this from scratch. It would take a bit too long. But these are all very basic techniques. So if you've seen some of my other tutorials, or if you already have some experience with Fusion, this should not be difficult to follow at all. Right? So there are just a few things that are of importance here. First of all, of course, the electricity itself. And as you could have guessed, it's really essentially a fast noise pattern. If I take this out for a moment, right, you can see it here. It's just fast noise. Maybe of importance, of course, is that there is a seethe rate, so that the fast noise is moving around or evolving. I don't know what right terminology is. The other important thing is, well, apart from all the parameters, that took a bit of tweaking to get the right effect, but in the color tab, I set it to gradient, and I've got just three colors in here: a white, a blue, and a transparent one. It is all the devil's in the detail. It requires a fair bit of tweaking, at least in my particular case, it required a fair bit of tweaking to get this to look right. So just to give you an example, if we would basically change the brightness just a tiny bit, bang, the whole effect is gone. The other way around would be way over the top. So really you need to tweak it, and the best way to tweak it is get it to a reasonable type of state and then assess it in the context of the overall end composition, right? In this case, the electricity on top of the text. As you can see here, it's everywhere. But that's because I unhooked the masks. So if I pop them back in, there you can see it's limited to where the masks allow the electricity or the fast noise to appear. And the thing here is that all of these ellipse masks have been animated. And as I'm somewhat lazy, I animated those masks with a perturb modifier. So you right click, modify with, and then choose perturb. And then in the modifier tab, you can change the settings. Right? You can see the settings over here, and you can see it in my project file. So that is a very, very important part of this overall effect. Otherwise, as said, it would be everywhere. And you need to set the parameters in such a way that you get the effect you like. That's, of course, a very obvious statement. So that's the electricity part. I'll talk about this part of it in a moment. First, though, the text itself, very, very, very straightforward. Just some basic text, right? Added some a bump map to it. As you can, I don't know if it comes through on YouTube. Oh, there we go. Here you can see that. Just again generated with some fast noise. I thought it would add a bit of interest to it when you've got the electricity on top and sort of having the highlights and everything reflect that. But that's it. The text will also serve two other purposes. One is that it will generate a cutout for the electricity, which we'll show in a moment, and it will also be feeding into the displays of the image plane. More on that in a moment. Right. Next one up, the electricity plane. Right. So we had the fast noise itself here with the masks. We feed that then into this plane. Into this brightness contrast node, and that node is there to restrict the fast noise. And the fast noise itself was already restricted by the masks here, but it's then further restricted to only show it where the text is, right? To make that apparent here, right? I'm showing now the feed from not only the text, which I had here before, but the text and the electricity. You can see it's just here on top and just around the text. And that's what this little fella is doing. So it is taking the feed from the text, it's being rendered out, and maybe of particular importance here is that I set the renderer to orthographic, so that you sort of have got a flat view. I can't quite explain it, but you can Google it. If I would change, if I go to the matte control here, you can see here I inverted the map. If I untick that, you see the electricity is going around the text rather than on top of the text. So hence I inverted it, but I ensured that there was a bit of expansion on the matte and with a bit of matte blur, so that there's a bit of electricity going around it. Right, you can see it here, so it's not a straight cut off at the text itself. So if you sort of decrease this and decrease the blur, you can see it's more restricted to the text itself. So don't want to do that. I want to have a bit around it to make it look more, well, I suppose natural, even though it's not really natural. So once we've done that, I feed it into a normal brightness contrast node. Well, the node is the same, but really I use it for its original purpose, right? I added a bit of gain here. I could have probably done it in the same node, but I like to sometimes keep things separate from a conceptual point of view. Add a bit of soft glow. You can't quite see the difference here on this one, on this view, but if you look at the difference here on this viewer here, if I switch off the soft glow, right? I hope it comes through on YouTube, but it's a fair bit of difference. Then the important point is I pop it onto an image plane. As you can see here, flat onto an image plane. Now, very importantly, we've got the displays. Right, and here you can hopefully see it's being displaced with the same text I rendered out. It's feeding into, not into the matte control. It's bypassing the matte control and going into a blur to make it a bit more rounded, a bit more smooth, and then into the display so that you got this sort of curve around it. And what this does is basically it allows the electricity to be somewhat curved around the text, giving the impression that it is really surrounding the text. Right, so if I were to switch this off, as you can see, it's flat. Right? It's now right in the middle of the text, of course, because the displacement works on pixel brightness values and such. So the whole thing is moved back to its original position. But hopefully you understand there's that curvature, if I zoom in a bit, that really allows it to be wrapped around the text. Right, you can see it here, for instance. So then we're feeding this all into a merge node, and we're already displaying that, and then into another merge node. We could have done it in the same, but I like to sometimes separate things out. Add a few lights, and one other thing, I'm adding in a little projector, and you may be able to see the difference here if I switch that off. Right, it adds a tiny bit of a sort of a glow around everything where the electricity is to sell the effect a bit more. And what's feeding into the projector is basically a combination of these masks, right, which you can see here, plus the electricity itself. And that's basically fed into the projector. And, I said that we'll project it onto the text here. I needed to play around with the position a bit as well. So if you look at the projector position, that's over here. I just eyeballed it. There's probably a more accurate way of doing it, but I ensured basically by changing the position and the position of the projector itself, and by changing the angle and such, I ensured that basically the glow was in the right place. Okay, and then we feed the whole thing into a renderer, and I'm using the OpenGL renderer, and then add in last merge with a background, right, sort of a gradient background, and add a saver, and that's it. So yeah, that was it for this little walkthrough. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you've got any questions, please let me know, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks very much. Take care, guys.